Welcome to New Orleans, home of Mardi Gras Indians, second line clubs, historically famous bars, clubs, and hotels, such as the Dewdrop Inn, the Sandpiper, Madison Hotel on MLK, and the Forest Inn, located on LaSalle and 7th. The city where the residents say things such as, run my bathwater, I need to make groceries, bruh, you heard me, and what's happening, baby? Notoriously known for being the city that never sleeps and birthing some of the most gangster hitters the states have ever seen. The young Gregory Stewart was raised in the upper Ninth Ward of New Orleans. The lower Ninth Ward being anything across the Industrial Canal, the upper being anything before crossing the canal. Gregory would grow up on Gallagher, notoriously known as the G-Strip, located on Gallagher and Urquhart off of Murray. During his adolescent years, Gregory would attend Lorraine Hainsbury, a.k.a. Palmer, and Charles Richard Drew Elementaries. Gregory would attend Colton Middle in his preteen years. Before Katrina would strike New Orleans, Gregory would attend St. James Major High School. Post-Katrina, he would spend a short time at Bonneville High, from which he would later attend Nichols, a.k.a. Douglas High School. Gregory would eventually end up dropping out when one of his partners got hit up. The streets beef had gotten too serious. Knowing the seriousness of the beef, Gregory would always be strapped. Late one night while hanging out on the G-Strip, Gregory would be stopped and frisked by the NOPD. A scuffle would ensue. The cops would slam Gregory to the ground. Gregory, who was strapped at the time, would pretend to be knocked out. As the cops would get closer, Gregory would spring up and dash, earning him the nickname Rabbit, which was given to him by Louis Daniels. Needing money for clothes and shoes at the age of 11 is when Gregory would try his hand at selling drugs. Petty hustling, slinging $2 rocks and bags of weed. In the mean streets of New Orleans, this will be normal for kids coming up in the hood. Another hustle that Gregory would partake in will be tap dancing on Bourbon Street in the quarters. Like most teens in the hood, Rabbit would learn to drive at an early age. Hanging around the OGs in the hood, this would come easy. 2006 would be the year that Rabbit would get involved with the 11-5 trade. Lloyd Curry, a.k.a. Slugger, and Darryl Franklin, a.k.a. Breezy, were partners at the time. Realizing that Rabbit was a young dude who had heart, the pair would take a liking to Gregory and provide him with that boy. Coming up, Rabbit was small in stature with a childlike appearance. Slugger and Breezy would take advantage of this. Rabbit would take the Greyhound bus back and forth to Texas to cop the work. Being 14 or 15 at the time, the cops would never expect Rabbit of transporting that dog food. Having a rough upbringing, Rabbit would witness his first body at the age of 3 or 4. He would witness his mother's boyfriend pass in his grandmother's living room. While in the 5th or 6th grade, one of Rabbit's friends would be accidentally shot and deleted. This would not traumatize the young Gregory, as he had become numb to violence at a young age. Rabbit and Louis Daniel, a.k.a. Lou, would have a brotherly-like relationship. Lou, who was a known killer, would put Rabbit down on the murder game. Don't aim for the head, aim for the body. When they fall, walk over them and crush them. Lloyd Curry, a.k.a. Slugger, who was also a known killer, would also put Rabbit on game. The first homicide that Rabbit would be involved with would come late one night in 2007. After leaving the club, Rabbit and his homies would be chilling on the G-Strip. Calvin Brumfield would creep down on them and hit one of Rabbit's partners up 9 times. Once his clip was empty, he would flee. Rabbit and his partner would give chase and run him down, catching him as he was attempting to hop a fence to the getaway car. Calvin would be pulled down from the fence, stomped, and choked out. Tyson Bell will return to the scene after leaving to get the blicky. Tyson would then hit Calvin in the head with a .38 caliber, crushing him. Lloyd Curry, a.k.a. Slugger, who was deep in the streets at the time, would catch a Joes. While incarcerated, Slugger and Breezy would fall out. Breezy refused to Joe Slugger and left him hanging. Already having a bad taste in his mouth for Merle upon his release, Slugger will vow vengeance on Breezy and Merle. Rabbit, who will be locked up for a short stint, will be released in March of 2009. Lou will be picked up for crushing a dude out to Florida on G-Strip. The only witness will be the victim's mother. Breezy was supposed to take care of the witness, but didn't. This would infuriate Lou, who would beat the charge and upon his release would swear to crush Breezy. Rabbit, who had a month left on his bed at the time, would be caught in the middle between Slugger, Lou, Breezy, and Merle. Gregory, Stewart, aka Rabbit, will remain neutral, stating as long as none of the G-Strip dudes got crushed, he would stay out of it. Breezy would introduce Rabbit to Merle. Breezy and Merle would convince Rabbit to join them by giving him 10 racks and a brick of 11.5. Rabbit would give out samples of that foil and tell Vicks to cop from the G-Strip. This would get the G-Strip pumping. Hearing that Rabbit was getting money on the G-Strip, the dudes out to Florida like Evans and his homies would join Rabbit on the strip. Pound, who was in juvenile jail with Rabbit, would also hit the strip. This would incite envy and jealousy. Still heated about the entire situation, Lou would call Rabbit, telling him that he was on his way to crush someone on the G-Strip. Before Rabbit could fully warn, Lou and Cole would pull up and hit 4 of them up. Breezy's sister would be Cole's next victim. Before Cole could squeeze, Rabbit would push her down to the ground. Lou would hop back in the whip and mash out. This would infuriate Rabbit, who would now be part of the war.
Continue to see gun violence and homicides in New Orleans, increasing the homicide rate. Yesterday, we told you New Orleans is on track to have the highest homicide rate in the nation. According to crime data analyst Jeff Asher, it is the first time that we have topped that list since 2011.
Orleans police are investigating at least a dozen shootings, and so far no suspects have been named. Now, 12 of those shootings took place since the beginning of the holiday weekend, and those shootings claimed the lives of 6 people. Orleans police are investigating at least a dozen shootings, and so far no suspects have been named. Now, 12 of those shootings took place since the beginning of the holiday weekend, and those shootings claimed the lives of 6 people.
The year is 2010, 5 years after Hurricane Katrina. The war between 3 and G in the Yo is at its peak. Merle O'Fray, a.k.a. Black, and his partner in crime, Darryl Franklin, a.k.a. Breezy, were putting a stronghold on the 11.5 trade in the city. The only ops standing in their way would be from the Desire and the Callio housing projects. April 12th, 2010, it would get real out here in these streets. Breezy and his crew were posted up on Desire by the Wing Shack. One of them will spot known stepper Lloyd Curry, a.k.a. Slugger. Breezy and Slugger were cool before Slugger got locked up. It is rumored that Breezy went under on Slugger with a half a bird while Slugger was Josie. The relationship would never be the same. Spotting Slugger would put everyone on alert. It wouldn't be long before shots would ring out. Everyone was scattered. Breezy would leap from a porch and roll under a house. When the smoke cleared, Terrence Butler, a.k.a. Cheddar Black, and Derek Jones, a.k.a. Gucci Man, had both been crushed. Merle, Breezy, and Gregory Rabbit Stewart would jump in Merle's Audi and give chase. They would catch up with Quentin Gutter Broussard on Clour Street and crush him.
It has been a violent night across southeast Louisiana. New this morning, we are tracking 2 separate murders breaking out just hours apart.
The latest one took place near the St. Claude neighborhood on Clour Street near North Galvez.
Elton Fields, a.k.a. Bo, and Corey Lewis, a.k.a. Cole, would both jump a fence and get away. Slugger would spin the bin once again to catch Jesse Terry, a.k.a. G-Strip Baby, slipping on Ammonaster and delete him. This day of events would leave 3 fallen members of the 39ers. Breezy and Rabbit would be devastated by this loss and will vow to get revenge. A few short weeks after the massacre on Desire, Rabbit and T-Red would unload AK-47 into Bo's whip, believing they had caught him slipping. Donald Daniels, a.k.a. Dizzy, would be crushed in the process, whom was merely using Bo's whip. Taking no mercy, Jasmine Perry, a.k.a. J. Real, Ashton Price, a.k.a. Pound, along with Evans Lewis, a.k.a. Easy, were crushed Anthony Brown, believing that he stole a handgun that they would eventually find. The summer of that same year, Merrill would throw a lavish retirement party at the Sports View, a local sports bar located in the 8th Ward of New Orleans. Uptown and downtown would attend. Nut the Kid would even show up to the huge event. In October of that same year, Merrill and Breezy would drop Bo's location. Rabbit and T-Red would pull up and crush him in the 7th Ward. Late January 2011, Calvin Celestine, a.k.a. Plucky, would be deleted. Rabbit would be the trigger man. It was rumored that Plucky was playing both ends against the middle, triggering the hit to be placed on him. Maul, another rival of the crew, would still be alive. Wanting Maul badly, they would catch him in front of the courthouse. The doors on the minivan that they were driving would fly open. McCoy and T-Red would jump out. Both guns would be on safety and not fire. The female with Maul would flee from the vehicle. Rat would start dumping shots into the whip. T-Red would unjam his strap and join in on the firing. 3 would rub the shooting into the face of their rivals by having t-shirts made of the victim. Merle and Breezy would get the green light from Ller to pump on 3 The first to be fronted would be McCoy Walker, a.k.a. Rat Trap. It wouldn't be long before everyone on the set was pumping, birthing the 39ers. In April of 2011, Rabbit, AD, and Big Wash would plot on the Callio, wielding a .223 AD with open fire, per Rabbit's instructions, hitting Floyd Moore. Rabbit would then stand over Floyd and finish the job. The retaliation for G-Baby, Money's brother, would be a reckless killing. Before the events took place, it was already made up in Rabbit's mind to crush anyone that they see on the porch in the Callio. Wash, being a driver, would drive Breezy's Infiniti in the Callio to do the shooting. Ronell Oni, who had nothing to do with it, would later be charged with the crime.
I think that there's no value right now for life.
WDSU sources confirmed tonight that one of the victims of a double murder in broad daylight earlier today was indeed a popular local rapper. Fans are turning to the internet to mourn the loss of the second female rapper to sign on with Cash Money Records, a national label that began here in the Crescent City.
28-year-old Renetta Lowe, better known to her fans as Magnolia Shorty, was gunned down yesterday along with another man, and today thousands of people are commenting on a Facebook page dedicated to the rapper. WDSU news reporter Sydney Chewin is live with the latest on the search for the killer. Sydney.
LaTanya, unfortunately, New Orleans police do not have any information regarding any suspects or motive in this case, but you mentioned Magnolia Shorty was gunned down yesterday. Her friend was 25-year-old Jerome Hampton. Both of them were gunned down in New Orleans East in the 6300 block of Bridgehampton Drive in the Georgetown apartment complex.
In December of 2010, 5 days before Christmas, furious with Jerome Man Hampton for an act that he pulled off in 2005, the 39ers would devise a plan to finish Man once and for all. Casing out the Callio all day with no luck at spotting Man, Rabbit would suggest driving to the east. T-Red's girl lived in the same apartments with Shorty, and she had spotted Man hanging out there. She would pass this on to T-Red, who would pass this on to Rabbit. Car full of men stacked with fully automatic handguns and assault rifles would head to the Georgetown apartment complex in the New Orleans East. Deciding to wait Man out, the crew would pull out of the complex to cop cigars. Not wanting to be spotted, they would send a junkie into the store to snatch the guards for them. Re-entering the complex, T-Red would use his girl's passcode for the security gate. It is then they would spot Ronetta Lowe and Jerome Hamptons inside the white Malibu. The team of men would open fire, striking Shorty instantly. A hail of gunfire would ensue, crushing both Madman and Shorty. Gregory Rabbit Stewart will later be arrested in June of 2011 in an Atlanta hotel while trying to disguise himself wearing a Rasta wig. It wouldn't be long before Rabbit would cooperate with the government, giving up his partners.
One day after the WDSU I-Team broke the story about another sweeping gang indictment in just over a month, the district attorney and the NOPD are speaking out.
Last month, 15 members of the One Tenors gang were charged in a racketeering indictment involving guns, drugs, and murder. Today, similar charges against 20 men with the 3NG gang, also based uptown.
We will use every weapon in our arsenal to bring them to justice.
Orleans Parish District Attorney Leon Canizero was firm as he described a 30-count racketeering indictment against 20 men in the 3NG gang. He says the group conspired to distribute illegal drugs and used violence to gain and maintain control over the area where it operated near 3rd Street in South Galvez.
They don't show any breaks to the people of this community. We're going to give them no breaks either.
Authorities say the 3NG gang is responsible for at least 10 murders in the last 5 years. This indictment is the 4th indictment stemming from the multi-agency gang unit.
While these cases are more difficult to investigate and prosecute, it allows us to present the whole story to the jury. Get ready, because this is what we see to be a very successful sort of prosecution.